So right now we are going to talk a little baby food talk.
Yes, we are. Because there's a bun in the oven, not me. You.
Clearly, it's my bun in the oven.
Well, you might not be able to see it. I'm just saying.
You can't see it over the table.
So, first thing that comes to your mind when you're thinking about baby being born?
Well, it's breastfeeding for me. That's going to be
right.
Primary. But then also baby food.
Yes.
And what kind of baby foods and homemade baby foods. And
are you going to do homemade baby foods?
I hate to admit it, but I actually, for my first child, didn't do too many homemade things.
Well, you don't have to hate to admit it. I mean, that's
well,
a lot of women don't do homemade baby foods.
That's right. But with my son, I started making my own homemade baby foods, and I plan to, with the third baby, I plan to try to experiment a little more and make more foods.
I did homemade baby foods, and it was a daunting experience for me both times. I mean,
I feel like you'd be a pro at it.
I was a pro at it, but I'm just saying. It was still, I mean, I read every book and I had all these plans and some books. It was super intensive and I felt like it was like a workout just to make the baby food. And then other times it was, just simple pureeing. But even when you're pureeing, it's like, I'm scared. You're scared you're going to give your food. Maybe it's not going to be, it's going to go cooked properly, right? It could go bad.
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful with the way you're handling it.
But you don't have to be any less careful even with packaged baby food. I mean, like all those scares that happen with those squeezies.
That's true. There have been some squeezies that have had mold and strange things found in them. And then there's a lot of judgment sometimes from other moms.
When you've got the squeezies on your conveyor belt going across. Yeah, they're like, oh, those are what you use.
You know what? I'm going to do both. I'm sorry. I'm going to do what works. I'm definitely going to do my best to make my own baby food. But if they get a squeezy here and there, I'm not going to hate myself.
Yeah. And then that's what we kind of talk about is that no matter what your decision is, it's cool.
What works.
But we want to definitely talk about, whatever makes it easier for you in your life, but also helps you to make sure that you're giving your kids the nutrients that they need.
And we also want to bring really, topics that you guys can learn from, that we're learning from, which is what brings us today. Today's.
So one of the major sources of our education is Instagram. I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
It's kind of true, though.
It's kind of true. Well, okay, so as a mom, we scroll through Instagram and you find inspiration, right? You get inspired to work out. You get inspired to cook new meal ideas.
You connect with other moms.
You get DIYs that Vanessa can't do. Right? Okay. So what I'm saying here, though, is that I was scrolling through Instagram and I found this wonderful woman. And she has this website, or she has this Instagram page called Palette Training. So thinking colors, palettes, art. And this is how she feeds her child.
I know. Melissa was like crazy over it. And for me, it's a newer
She's like,
thing.
what are you doing? I'm like, leave me alone. I'm looking at
I thought she was talking about art. And then we got into it and I was like, wow, okay, it looks like art.
Okay, so it was really interesting because it's feeding her child foods that are the color of the rainbow, basically. And what was interesting is foods like Brussels sprouts and squashes and
great foods.
Well,
let's introduce our guest then.
Okay,
get talking with her.
But what I'm going to say is what got me was it wasn't even good. It was her child was eating it.
Okay,
that's what got me.
That's
what got me. Is you want to, but okay. So anyway, so we are here today with Dr. Laura Lefkowitz, who has created something called Palette Training. Hi, Dr. Laura.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Me too. First off, we're in warm, fuzzy clothes because we're in Canada, and you're down in the sunny Miami. So thanks for joining us today.
I'm sending you some sun and some warm weather your way.
Awesome. Yes. We need it, or we will soon.
So what got you interested and started on palette training? Where did that come from?
So as you introduced me, I'm a medical doctor. I actually did training in traditional medicine. But in about 2007, I switched into nutrition. I became more of a preventative doctor. I wanted to see if I could help people through healthy eating and prevent disease instead of just prescribing medication. And in my practice, the biggest complaint I heard from parents was, I can't get my child to eat anything. He ate every single baby food jar I gave him, peas, broccoli, and then as soon as the real food came, nothing. And it's been a struggle. And I heard this over and over. So when I got pregnant, I said, I got to figure this out. I don't want to have a child that eats every baby food and then when I go to give him regular food, doesn't eat it. So I used my medical knowledge and my nutrition knowledge, and I figured out that it was more complicated. And then I thought it started in utero. There is scientific evidence that the baby starts tasting the flavors in the mother's amniotic fluid.
You know what? I actually just read this because I'm in like my 26th week, and they were saying now is the time to start eating those foods that you want your baby to eat when you do introduce the foods. And I was like, I mean, obviously I know they're getting the nutrients, but I had no idea that flavors were coming through at this point. So I just heard that, which is totally amazing. So again, it comes back to parents, right? Like we have such a big role and influence on what our kids are going to be eating.
Right.
Right. Just like people put, music on their baby's belly, they want them to hear music early. You can actually start palate training your baby by eating healthy yourself when you're pregnant. They will get the subtle flavors of broccoli and carrots, and also the French fries and stuff. But if you can try to eat healthy during your pregnancy, that's the first step of palate training. Then when the baby is born, breast milk also has the flavors of what a mother is eating. So I was very concerned with breastfeeding because I wanted my baby to have the diversity. When I eat broccoli, my milk would taste one way. When I eat, fruit, it would taste another way. And not that I'm against formula, but I think that that's one of the problems is that formula tastes the same all the time.
Right.
And the baby doesn't get any taste variation. Breast milk has different fat content, flavoring, sugar content. And so I think that one of the things is with formula, same thing all the time, and the baby doesn't get used to variation. So not against formula, but if you can breastfeed a little, I think it's an important component of palate training too.
So with regards to when you start feeding your baby and introducing certain flavors, I know often they say, try to avoid the sugary stuff in the start, like start with the more vegetables, those kind of flavors, because everyone will most likely enjoy the sweet, sugary flavors. Does that translate to when you're pregnant then?
Well, meaning does the baby like the sweet things that it tastes in the amniotic fluid?
Yeah. Like should we be watching how much of that we're eating? We just said how
Well, you will say, like, when you eat sugar, the baby kicks more and is more active. When you have a big meal of Brussels sprouts, it's not moving around as much. So
I try to digest the flavors.
Right. I do think it applies then, and that's why it's not good to have a sweet tooth with pregnancy because, again, it's subtle flavors. It's not the same as them eating a piece of cake, but that's what their brain is developing, and it's gonna like that. Just, I hate to say it, but just like a baby whose mother uses drugs, their brain is gonna become favorable towards these drugs, or something. So it's really whatever. That's why we don't want to use chemicals, around babies. So then, my big thing with palate training is how to raise a vegetable lover. So what I realized is babies are what we call, baby's brain is a tabula rasa, or a clean slate. It has no notions about anything. When you put broccoli in front of a baby, it doesn't know what broccoli is. It doesn't know what Brussels sprouts are. It doesn't know what chocolate cake is. It's what the parent teaches them. So if the brain is a clean slate and the taste buds have no emotion with them, we can acclimate them to any food that we want them to. So if you start feeding them vegetables, they don't know better that people don't like it. They just start liking it. And one of the biggest things that's different about palate training is I am very subtly introducing the dimensions of foods to baby. So, is it okay? Babies' brains are very, very sensitive. They're very sensitive to noise, cold, heat. So you can't overwhelm them with too many different tastes. Right. So when I started making baby food, everything was blending, blend quinoa and brown with pears and spinach. That's too complicated, and it doesn't give the baby the chance to like just a simple food. So rule number one of palate training is you just prepare the food simply, and you serve them side by side, and you create a colorful palette of food. So we start with the green vegetables that most kids don't like because they don't know any better. And we acclimate them to it. And then the thing about palate training, there's a specific order. Starts with the greens, and then I start with orange foods, yellow foods, and red foods, and it becomes a rotation so that pretty much a month into palate training, you can already have this colorful palette to serve your kids.
Right.
And I never mix fruit with vegetables. Because when you mix fruits with vegetables, you mask the taste of the vegetables. and you lose the opportunity of the child just ever liking the vegetable.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because you want them to like the broccoli for the broccoli and you want them to enjoy the Brussels for the Brussels. So these are such good tips.
And obviously we want to hear more, but you have an amazing ebook coming out that's coming out in the new year. So we're going to make sure that we jump on that because it's going to have all the tips and how that we can do that ourselves with our own kids.
And we're going to keep following you on Facebook and Instagram at Palate Training, or our viewers can go to your website at palatetraining.com to learn more about this because it is good information.
Yes.
This is just, I am just starting
We're like teaching the icing on this.
You've got me.
Yeah, we're hooked.
The ebook will be out ready for you for when you're ready to feed.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for your time today.
And thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. Good luck. Eat your veggies.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us and stay tuned.